let's look at the controversy regarding your budget plan for going county-wide, because that's where controversy came in. In November, the AAT board adopted a vision statement declaring that the AATA would be, and I quote, transportation provider for Washtenaw County and connector with transportation from adjoining counties with the most efficient use of resources, unquote. And then there was a little discussion, and as I understand it, your approach is to have a budget to guide the design of a county-wide system rather than the other way around. And so now I'd like you to explain your Treasury report of financial recommendations, because that's what they were. They were recommendations for the design of a county-wide transportation system.
There are two components to this. And I'll start by saying that one of our board members said, you know, guys, we shouldn't be talking about a millage. It's way premature to be talking about a millage for the countywide service. Notwithstanding, there was talk about the countywide millage. And I was then, and still not now, in agreement with what I heard. There was a lot of conversations that I heard talked about taking a very high Ann Arbor millage of 2 mills and layering a countywide millage on top of that. Mm-hmm. So Ann Arbor gets hit with a total of 3 mills and the rest of the county gets hit with a total of 1 mill. I'm not in agreement with that. So I wrote in my treasurer's report, or I tried to demonstrate in my treasurer's report, that you don't need this. If you eliminate the city millage, which no one wants to eliminate because it's perpetual, it's guaranteed. Right. No one wants to eliminate. But if you would eliminate that and go to a 1 mill countywide millage, there is ample money. There's ample money remaining to create a robust countywide system. And I was trying to demonstrate that.
Right.
Now, on the next part of the question that you asked me, the AATA is in the process of hiring a consultant to design the countywide system, and it's going to be very involved and it's going to take a while. I was trying to say that let's give the consultant a budget. Mm-hmm. There's another, and that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
There's another theory floating around that says let them design it, and then we'll upscale it or downscale it depending upon what we want it to be. So there's just two different points of view. I view it as kind of building a house. If you go to one, but quite frankly, it's an iterative process. But if you're building a house, normally you have a budget in mind.
Right.
Okay. So you're going to build a house. You go to an architect. And generally, the first thing you say is, "Here's my budget," and then here's what I want. Then you start reconciling the the two.
Yes.
Okay. That was what I was trying to do here.
Right. Right. It seemed, yes, that was clear. So would you want to go into some detail about what you were proposing? One of the things you wanted, without my going to the numbers, which you will probably do, is you wanted to separate, or you want to separate the WALI, which is the transportation between Ann Arbor, between Washtenaw County and Livingston County, from the new design and from the budget. Could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, yes. WALI is the north-south rail service that is being thought about, and there's been a lot of interest in it. WALI is a much different item than what we're used to dealing with. WALI has a different expense structure and a big expense structure. Any number of considerations with WALI. And eventually, one of those considerations will be who pays for WALI, okay? I thought then and I think now that it would be a huge mistake to take this large unknown and at this point in time, bake it into any countywide plan. I just think that would not be a real smart move to make. The countywide plan, and as we'll talk a little bit later, and the things that impact that are big enough. Wally needs to stand alone. It needs to be supported on its own. It needs to be considered alone and dealt with separately. And so Wally wouldn't necessarily weight down the countywide approach, and unlikely, but then the countywide approach wouldn't necessarily weight down Wally. Okay, separate items.
Right. And so then, right, it wouldn't weigh down, so we would have more money in for the countywide. Actually, if we take Wally out of that picture, the monies that you're talking about.
Yeah, the budget numbers on Wally are not agreed to yet. Okay, and I'll give you some budget numbers that came from a study done by a company called R.L. Banks, and as I recall, they're out of Reston, Virginia. They studied Wally, and they said, I'll give you the numbers. They said it's going to take about $33 million in capital improvements to bring the existing, that's just to bring the existing rail line and stops up to federal standards, safety standards, and among other, and operational standards. And then it will take about $6 million plus a year to operate it, okay? And the maximum amount of passengers that Wally might ever carry is going to be 1,200 a day.
Oh my goodness.
So that has to be ironed out. I mean, there's interest in it, there's enthusiasm for it. We all like rail. But this needs a lot more analysis and a lot more vetting. And by the way, there isn't a heck of a lot of money around like this these days.
Right.
Okay, so that's, again, some of the reason why I said put Wally over here.
Yes.
Let's be smart about this.
Right. Would you like to now tell us about how we can go from 2 point something, now it's 2.06 mils, to 1 mil? And my understanding is that currently we cover 2/3 of the county.
That is correct.
And so with your plan, we'll be able to cover the other 1/3. Is correct?
And improve what we got.
Okay, so
Okay.
want to tell us about how we can do that?
Oh, I'd be happy to do that. Now, in order for me to do that, you have to put my visual aid up on the screen.
Okay, so I think they'll do that.
Is it up on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Take a look at the left-hand column. On the visual aid that hopefully everyone's looking at now, you will see today's sources of revenue for the AATA. And you will see that it adds up to $25.4 million. And then if you take my thinking for a countywide tax of 1 mil and eliminate the Ann Arbor tax of 2 mils, actually 2.06 mils, you will see how the numbers shake out. And it's quite interesting. You'll wind up with about $8 million more. And you should be able to very much accommodate the rest of the county for an additional $8 million and do a nice job of it.
And still maintain?
Still maintain services, absolutely. There's no reason to cut services. Look, the money, there's more money.